the Forex market, of course. Before we do that, though, before we look into the charts, this risk disclaimer explaining that trading foreign exchange and global financial markets is considered high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. And this webinar is for educational purposes only. Goody good. So today we're going to take a look at trend lines specifically as a tool, but we will have other things, of course, that we'll be looking at. The trend, is there a trend, which direction, and what would be the opportunity, maybe, for example, pullback. We'll be checking for filters to see if any trades might have some problems with developing, for example, if there's divergence or if there's a big daily top, weekly trend line, etc., then maybe that would be a reason not to take the trade. Then we'll establish a trigger. In this case, we'll be more using trend lines. That is the main focus. And then the exact entry, which could be upon the break, pullback, or continuation, for example. So these steps would define the trading plan. Take a look at the social media, and with that said, first of all, let's take a look at the calendar. Today we do have some news events later on with the US dollar, that's for sure, right? Because we have FOMC and ADP. Let's see. Let's take a look though together. ADP is normally in the morning, US morning at least, and FOMC should be US afternoon. Let's go to the Forex calendar. We got some medium Euro news, unemployment rate, 2 hours and 12 from now, retail sales. ADP is 5.5, and indeed FOMC is 11. So those are, of course, big figures. It will be very interesting to read those notes about last month's Fed meeting. Very interesting. Well, let's move over together and take a look at some currency pairs here. The dollar yen is moving up a lot. I actually took a buy yesterday on this pullback here, and that's doing pretty well. We got a good continuation. That was actually based upon the break of this trend line right here and the hook back to it. So break, pullback, and I took another pullback, and that's actually closed for 50 pips. So that was nice. It was a modest target. I targeted at 105, partly because of my wave analysis that says that this is a potential move up, but we could see maybe one more rejection down. Maybe, I'm not certain, obviously, but that's why I took a bit profit quite relatively early. But it did continue a bit higher. It went to 105.10, so let's see. But therefore, I'm a bit cautious. Let me put on my normal template here. With the dollar yen, it is moving nicely to the upside, and we had a good break yesterday, but still, this is the break I'm talking about here. Did anyone take that trade as well yesterday? Of course, that's a resistance level. Great job, JS. Great job. I was thinking about being trigger happy, in fact, and taking it upon the break, but rather waited for the break and pullback. The main reason was because the moving averages are flat. Let me open my drawing tool, in fact, because I cannot show you what I mean. 1 second. The moving averages here, they were flat. So what I was worried about was that we have a break and then a close and reverse and kind of like a false break. So I wanted to see how it broke, but I liked it enough. Why did I like it enough? Because at least I had a 1 hour candle above it, and there were actually 2 candles above it, plus there was a full bullish candle above that trend line. So that was enough for me to say, okay, this looks like a sustainable breakout. We also broke this high, which means we are having higher highs and higher lows. So that's why I put the stop loss here, judging that the pullback shouldn't break this bottom. So that worked okay. or well. From a bigger perspective, of course, this was, as we know, a potential pullback from our upside. So I had a very modest target, to be honest, because this could be just a normal trend continuation. And now that we've broken above this 4-hour high here at 104.80, maybe we just continue and break this top as well and continue. Well, that's just tough luck then, I guess. I mean, pips are pips. They're in the pocket, so what can you do? I'm sure there'll be another moment in the future to join again. But at the moment, because it's right here, I don't think it really makes sense. Let me take a look at this one. Trying to see what the angle is here. Yeah, I don't know. It could be a 4-hour break as well. In fact, of these tops, I didn't think about it yesterday. So there is a fair chance maybe to retest these tops, but to me the R2R right here is really not too advantageous. So I'm not saying it couldn't move up, but I don't think it's worth the risk at the moment. So, if you took it maybe a bit lower here, probably was just a bit too conservative with my 105. Maybe should have been targeting this top. And then we'll probably see a pause, and then there's a good chance we'll continue if we do that. I was actually looking at this potential to go down to 103.70 or 103.20. That's why I'd still be careful with this level, though. 105.14, maybe to 786. I know it seems strange, maybe. I normally don't look at reversals like this, but there is a chance we make a bigger retracement before continuing. Not that I would want to trade it to the downside, but I would be careful with longs right in front of these resistances. So I would rather let these levels break, make a bull flag, and then take it again after that. Daniel says profit on the euro yen. Great job. Let's take a look at the euro yen. Euro yen really fell a lot, but is moving up. You see the minus 618 acting as a bouncing spot of this correction right there. And indeed, we broke these tops. That was a potential breakout as well yesterday. A trend line like this potentially. And that's doing well as well indeed. Pound yen had something similar. Right here, this break right here or here, that too is doing well indeed. Now, of course, logically, because the move is depending, I mean, from the short time frame, this is already making a higher high right now. If anything, it would make sense to wait for a pullback like this, because to me, it wouldn't make sense to go long right here without waiting for a pullback. I mean, the best trade obviously is the first break or the first pullback. Like here, this small pullback here, that's perfect. Or the first break here. Let's see. JS is targeting 121.70. Oh, you mean the dollar yen? JS? That's a big target indeed. I don't normally keep trades that open that long. That would take a while indeed. But I wouldn't, there's no reason why I couldn't get there necessarily. 111, I would say, is for me, a big target because that's a weekly minus 272. $111, and then 120, which is the minus 618. So those are my targets. But yeah, I wouldn't keep it all the way there personally. But that's just my type of trading. But this is definitely one thing I do agree with you is that ever since here, this was a big uptrend and has seen a good continuation so far. And well, I don't see any reason to change that. This was an uptrend. I know that many people were skeptical of this uptrend, or at least a few of them I know, and they were thinking that this is actually still going to fall like that. I wouldn't say if it wasn't necessary. I mean, it's not impossible, but as long as this is pushing up, I don't see any reason to be bearish. It's that simple indeed. Alrighty, well, that was the yen trades yesterday. Hopefully some of you as well got that. Euro dollar yesterday, we were looking at the fact that I want to see a bullish 1 or 2 hours. We got one bullish candle here and wait for a retrace. 2 hours, maybe I said 2 bullish candles and then 2 smaller candles and wait for continuation. That really never happened. We only had one and then 2 dojis and then down. But even if it were taken here, let's say it only went up a few pips, really no sufficient follow through. Not enough power here. And it's been really going sideways ever since. Moving averages are flat. And I think the euro dollar, it's a good chance maybe that will go flat until the news announcements. But from our trendline perspectives, though, there is this potential triangle. I just wouldn't trust it to break too much. If it does break, I have a feeling it would just fly back to the moving averages. This looks flat to me. I don't really trust any breakout. So I'm cautious with the euro dollar. Euro dollar was an uptrend, but you can see prices now below the moving averages. So this could be a bigger daily chart is still up, so this could be a bigger pullback from our upside, or the 4-hour trend will continue. But at the moment, I'm more cautious. Let's take a look. This is pound dollar. Pound dollar 2 had a break, but then just went sideways, in fact. So this red line is important, 164.30. That is the top. Also the bottom here, 163.70, has acted as support. Plus we have a daily trend channel coming in here. So here too, a bit of a mix. Sideways, maybe that will stay the same too. Not really too interesting at the moment, the cable. Let's take a look at the 4-hour perspective. 4-hour, you can see that this downside could be retraced as well. Currently though, we're just going sideways, so we'll need to wait for a break above that for with the trend breakout to the upside. So those are the majors at the moment. We can take a look at the Aussie because this is specifically focused on trend lines. If you have any questions, let me know. I have certain rules regarding trend lines. For example, does anyone know what I want to see in trend lines, normally speaking? Anyone have a guess? I'll wait for your answer. First of all, I'll take a look at the Aussie together with you. Pretty big correction here. Aussie is very choppy. I remember looking at it yesterday and saying we want to break below here or break above here, and both haven't happened. We just had some small downside, and this is starting to look more like a bull flag, but it's very choppy. Looking at the moving averages, this is very choppy. The 1 hour is very choppy, so it's better to keep an eye on the 4 hour where we can still see the trend here, and this seems to be a retracement maybe for more downside. Where would we enter such a downside? It's difficult at the moment, but probably something like that would have to happen. A break of that line, or maybe even a break of this one. We could break that trend line, fall to this one, and then maybe do this. All right, so both trend lines have their potential. Kiwi hasn't broken this trend line. Still no answers on the trend line question. Let me rephrase it otherwise. What do you look for in trend lines? Tell me and we can discuss it. What are good trend lines? What do you think? So I'll just give you some time again. Kiwi making a triangle here. That could break, I think, basically anyway because it really is stuck in a range. Look at that. I mean, this is a day chart, so I'm not really interested. This is 6 weeks of consolidation, or if not longer. Not too interested in that. How about the CAD? The dollar CAD broke. We talked about dollar CAD yesterday as well and said this is a resistance line. That happened in the afternoon, but from a trading perspective, it wasn't easy to catch. You would have to take this 15-minute fractal, maybe put the stop loss below the band. That would be working well, but it's not an easy one to trade. But yeah, there was a pretty big dollar strength or CAD weakness yesterday. Definitely. I mean, a 100 pip move on the dollar CAD, or not even that, it's more. A 200 pip move like this is quite rare on the dollar CAD, or any CADs almost, I would think, but especially the dollar CAD. So we're getting the bigger daily or weekly breakout, in fact, because look, we're in this uptrend, right? And this was a consolidation now for more upside. There's maybe one last resistance left right in here. Otherwise, well, there's a lot of resistance still, but this does look like a breakout. And if we fib this first move, the target could be the minus 272 at 110. Oh. Let me get the target precisely, 1 second. Yeah, 110, yeah. That would be the minus 272 of this upside. It would finally get to that target. It took forever. Despite this uptrend for 1.5 years, it still didn't reach the minus 272 target. It's quite bizarre, but Swissy. 1 hour charts is moving quite nicely to the upside. We had some triangle here, continuation, correction, continuation. But there is some divergence between these tops, so I wouldn't be, I'd be careful of that. It seems to be a bit of a, or was or is a bit of a rising wedge maybe. So I would be, a bit cautious of that. We're also pretty close to this resistance levels. In fact, there's a lot of resistance potential here. in this zone and higher as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see a hook back before we might continue up. That also will depend, I guess, on the FOMC, but there's a lot of potential resistance here. Maybe some space between 91.30 and 91.90, and then between 91.90 and 92.50 for upside. But we'll have to box through some resistance before we get some space. And using supportive resistance like that, we can space out, and have maybe an understanding where there could be enough space for price to move. So let's take Björn is asking about the AutoCAD, and let's talk about those trend lines again. Let's see. Mason is saying breakout or bouncing on a trend line. Yes, well, it's not a characteristic of a trend line, but I definitely agree that the trend line itself is a trigger. It's a decision point. So that's the great thing about it, about trend lines. The great thing about them, indeed, is that they become bounce or break spots. Absolutely. They're decision levels. If price gets to that trend line, we could either see the bounce down or the potential break out. And that's why having these lines on the chart are great, because they provide us a reason to act and react. And we also let the currency decide how to trade it. It's not like our opinion if we think that or think that, but we say, okay, this is a clear line in the sand. If price does this, breaks through it, then we do that. If price doesn't, then we do that, or we don't do anything. And the best is to have, indeed, a trade plan that you/the trader is reacting to price, which is interacting with, the tools, I think. Instead of maybe looking at, of course, opinions or fundamentals personally, or other kinds of analysis that could be done that are more formed on opinion. In any case, the trend line itself, JS is saying 3 touches of a trend line. Great job. That's on my list as well. Totally agree. Very good one. And very important, because 2 touches is a potential trend line, but the 3rd touch is the confirmation. Same holds true for the trend channel. Trend channel, of course, the difference with the trend line is that you have both the support and resistance, obviously. Right? So, consistency, same direction. Well, the trend line, in fact, you can draw it always, almost, but it has to be forward-looking, indeed, that's true. But you could even draw a line that is pointed up, but I could also now draw a line that is pointed down like this, for example. It is true, though, that normally speaking, I wouldn't often, a trend line like this, I wouldn't, most of the time it's difficult to trade it to the upside. That's true. Consistency, wouldn't know what you mean with consistency. Maybe you can explain it more, Jonas? Jano is saying there has to be at least 3 touches and not more breaks. Yes. I personally don't mind if I have a trend line where price is poking through it a bit. That's okay for me. I don't necessarily have to have, like, something like this, for example, is fine. This bit of price action above it is okay, because to me I see good hits here, I see a good hit here, I see a good hit here, I see a good hit here. So this, just a tad above it, is okay for me, for example. That's another rule of mine. I can have a bit of an overthrow or move through it, for example. That's fine. Another, of course, important element of trend lines is the angle. Not that there's a particular, not that any angle is necessarily bad, but a very steep trend line means that its price has been impulsive. Very shallow trend line means that price has been corrected. Anything in between, around like 30 degrees, is probably ideal, because that means that price has been moving not too fast, but a break of the trend line means there's also sufficient space up to the next support or resistance. Of course, another thing, there's nothing wrong with trading multiple trend lines. I mean, with having multiple trend lines on the chart, as you can see, because this one was respected as well. So we had a breakout up to the next trend line, and then another breakout up to the next resistance. There's nothing wrong with having multiple trend lines on the chart. Also, one more thing, by the way, is that if you look at a trend line, the number of hits is important, but I also tend to look at the distance between the hits. Do you see these hits here at the top? There are 3 hits, right? But all these hits are very close to each other. You see what I mean? So I also look at the areas. This is like one area to me. This is a second area. These are 2 hits, but they're very close to each other. So it's more like a third area. So that's a bit about trend lines. Let's take a look at the Aussie. Veshna is talking about monthly chart. Let me take a look quickly. Vashna is wondering if the downside retracement is finished. It's possible. Yeah, that's true, because I mean, this bottom could prove to be double bottom, maybe, right? And we see upside after that. I personally don't think so as yet. I think it's too early to say so. But it's possible. I just would think that at the moment we don't have enough information to say that this could be the bouncing spot. But obviously we need a break of that level to be really bearish, to become a bit more bearish. Then we could see a fall to challenge 80, 81. If we put a fib on this downside, we stopped at the 50 fib, the target would be 83.50. I'm just trying to read the comment again. Not fully understanding the last part. The downfall was 950 pips, exactly like high of a lower hill. I'm not sure what you mean with the lower hill part. But so yeah, in any case, below 88.40, there could be a fall to 83.50. Until we break that bottom, though, you have a point. We have to be careful, because we've made a good fall, but it doesn't necessarily mean it could break that support. It could bounce, and maybe we could move back to the 50 or the 61.8 or. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what you mean, unfortunately, but it was definitely a triangle here, and we got a break to the downside. So it is possible, but it's not something I normally look for necessarily. The only thing what I'm concerned about is not shorting it, at a maybe bad place. So I'm more concerned about where to short than finding reversal longs. But I'm aware that it could happen. I'm just not focused on it for my own trading. But obviously, if we do push above, for example, maybe this daily trend line here or these tops, then we will see an uptrend on the 4-hour chart, and I would think differently. Basically, I want to see an uptrend on the 4-hour chart before I really consider that. But just like gold also used that bottom as a bouncing spot. It could happen. It could happen. Let's see. So what else can we look at? Let's see if there's something to trade right now. Maybe this is euro pound that broke apparently not so long ago. I'm not a big fan of the euro pound, but that's an example of a trend line with 3 hits. What else? So far, I didn't see anything really interesting. The euro dollar is moving down. The pound isn't going anywhere. And dollar yen, well, what did I say? At least something. It's not, who knows how far it goes, but it did stop at the 78.6. Or about 2 pips shy of it. So odd cat, no, I didn't. Let's take a look, Bjorn. That's a good point. And then we'll take a look at, I guess, euro odd and pound odd and euro cat, pound cat. We can take a look at as well. But first, odd cat, indeed. Good point. So there was actually someone who asked yesterday how you can look at the dollar. You can do that by looking at the dollar index. I'm not sure if that person is there still today, but yesterday someone asked about how to see the dollar, and it could be the dollar index could be used. You can find the dollar index by going to File, go to the green plus in the left upper corner, then go to Charts, then click on I.USDX. OddCAD, let's take a look. Also, yesterday afternoon had a breakout. There were some consolidation setups here, and OddCAD was one of them, and we got the break to the upside here. And that was a good triangle. Classical triangle and continuation. Very nice chart pattern. Have to love those chart patterns. Really can help. And this was a classical one. Very nice. Good break as well. Let's zoom back to the 15. And the break of this 15-minute fractal you see leading to this breakout trade. Very nice. Now at the moment, where could that breakout go? What I would do is, if you are in that trade, I wouldn't aim for anything more than minus 618. That should be the target spot. We do already have a pin bar here, so maybe moving your stop loss to about 6 pips or so, or 10 pips below this 15-minute fractal could make sense to lock in some profit, for example, and then hang in there with the TP to maybe 96.70. That's what I would do if I would be in that breakout trade. From a bigger perspective, though, let's take a look. Daily chart or 4-hour chart. We see a break of, we were talking about yesterday, I remember, we were talking about the top of the uptrend channel, and I wouldn't take it, I forgot though, I said I wouldn't take it upon this break. I said I would rather wait for a hook back and go. Well, you can see sometimes that doesn't happen. Now I remember. This was a top of the uptrend channel, and we did recognize the triangle, but to me the triangle break to the downside seems better because it was with the trend. And this one I would rather wait for hook pullback and hook back. I'm not sure if we got that. Let's take a look. Not too much. We had a small consolidation here, but that was really very minor. Just barely the 38.2, if at all. You just sold it, Björn. That could be, to me, that it could be early, but I wouldn't be surprised maybe to see a bit more, one more push. Then again, we do have 15-minute divergence, and we have a 1-hour pin bar, so maybe we won't get to the target. But because the target is still a decent amount away, 20 pips, I would have liked to see the price hit the target before doing that, personally, but we might not get there this time. We are closer to resistance indeed, that is true. Yeah, the thing is that this pin bar is really, it's a 1-hour pin bar. It could be the end. It could also, you could easily just see 2 more bullish candles next to it to hit that target. For me, that target is very important. So, but therefore I would be waiting for that. But yeah, it doesn't have to get there though. How to draw a short trade line. I'm not sure what you mean with short trad line, or you probably mean trade line or trend line. Maybe you mean trend line. Short trend line in MT4. What you have to do is go to the top. You see this line here, says trend line. If you keep your mouse above it, click on it with the left mouse button. Click on one point, drag, and let go. So one more time. Click on this with the left mouse button, then click anywhere on the chart again with the left mouse button. Keep holding it though. Drag to where you want, and then when you reach your destination, let go, and you will have the line. Click again on the line with your left mouse button, then right click, and then you can click on trend line properties, and you can change the color and time. All right, let's take a look at Euro odd. Maybe there's something more inspirational, for me at least. Let's see. Yesterday we were talking about the Euro odd, I remember. We said it was, where was it yesterday? 7th. We were looking here, I remember. Here, and we said this is probably going to be a bouncing spot, but I didn't really like it too much because I rather waited for more correction. It was about here. We said this is a bouncing spot. It did move up twice, but after that it just went quiet indeed. So it did make some pips for those who maybe took it, but now it's really in a big consolidation zone, and you see on the 1-hour chart, this is just, it's caught in between 2 sets of moving averages. And to me, probably 4-hour chart, let's see, I guess we would need a break out of maybe this trend line like this, or on the 1-hour world, let's take a look. something like that. We see a triangle here. Personally, I would still wait for a break, pull back, and continue. I would rather take the euro out on the continue on both sides. Why? Well, that has everything to do with the fact that the 4 hour is in a downtrend, but the daily is in the uptrend. So any breakout could encounter resistance or support. Therefore, I would rather wait for the continue in this case. If the trend is very clear, then I don't mind to take either the break or pullback. But in this case, I would rather be even more conservative. So in this case, we have trend lines, and they are the trigger, but not the entry as well. Okay, so I think the pound out would probably be the same. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's also in a consolidation. This is actually breaking above a trend line. There's a bit more pound strength, as you can see. So here too would wait for a clear break of this resistance, for example, or wait for a break of that level. What basically I would like to see is a break, pullback, and then continue. Same story. Mason, what do you mean with the limited length trend line? I think these trend lines that I draw have a limited length. Or not? Oh, I know what you have to do. Right-click the trend line, go to trend line properties, go to parameters, and uncheck ray. And then you would change it to a limited length. By clicking on ray, you would of course make it again that it continues. Alrighty. So let's see. What else? Yeah, dollar index maybe. I have a pretty funny gap here on the dollar index, but eventually did break, pull back, and continue. So generally speaking, looking at some dollar strength as we break out of this trend line. So maybe if we find enough muscle, could we make this? That would be a lot of dollar strength. That would mean euro dollar, pound dollar downside, dollar yen upside probably. Then the CADs I still wanted to take a look at together with you. Pound CAD, maybe first of all, pound CAD breaking to the upside here. As well, there was a good trend line here. Oh, that was a while ago though. And maybe this one. Those breaks are all happening, and the CAD trend is continuing. There was a question. Sorry, there was a question from you a while ago. Let's see. I forgot about that. Fractals. The fractals basically mean that that is a level where that hasn't been broken by a certain number of candles. So basically, if you have here, let's say, let me zoom in. You have this candle is a fractal, right? There's a fractal here. What it basically means is this candle's low, because the fractal is below the candle, is lower than 2 candles to the left and 2 candles to the right, at minimum. Of course, there could be more, but at minimum, there are 2 candles to the left and 2 candles to the right. Everywhere where you see a fractal below price means that that particular candle low is the lowest of those 5 candles, the group of 5 candles. Any fractal that is above the candle means that that candle high is the highest of those 5 candles. Once again, there could be more. Of course, logically speaking, with a big top like this or a big bottom like this, it's not only the lowest of 5 candles, but it's the lowest of a lot of candles. Try to count all these candles that are above this level. Well, there are a lot of them. I mean, there are tons of them. So obviously, of course, the more fractals, the more candles above a fractal, the more important that level becomes. This 171.96 is an important support because price didn't manage to break through it for a long time. So that level is more important than this fractal or this one where only a few candles are above it, or this one. That's a very minor level. So, but in general, it all indicates the major, relatively major support of resistance because, of course, every candle itself is a support of resistance. Every candle high and low is a potential support of resistance, but not all are really important. And you are using the fractals, it's easier to distinguish which ones are more important. So without the fractals, you know, I wouldn't be able to, for me it's just easier to spot the important levels of support and resistance with fractals. So the pound CAD is now breaking above the minus 618. As I said, minus 618 is a big level. We've stayed there ever since the end of November for 6 weeks. But now, finally, after a big consolidation period, we're breaking and continuing. Euro CAD, and then we'll take a look at XAU USD. You know, at the moment, by the way, I'm not really interested at the moment. I would like to see a pullback on the pound CAD, for example. That could be interesting. But at the moment, you know, I don't know. It's really quite high in terms of not high necessarily, but I don't like to go long really upon a move that has already lasted that long, already has broken above the resistance, and I wouldn't like a pullback. EuroCAD. I was looking for a EuroCAD pullback here, but I didn't get it yesterday. And it actually just continued. Very light pullback, maybe only to the 23.6, and then continued. So that was a pity. I was waiting for a bit more to the 50. That would have taken it long, but that didn't happen. Let's take a look at the 4-hour here too. Pretty sturdy retracement, but we are getting the continuation. As we said yesterday, these moves to the long-term moving averages sometimes are a very good moment because that's could be the trend continuation spot. For me though, because I would still want to pull back, in fact, because it's pretty close to this resistance. So that is basically it. It's quite simple. So now we can take a look at gold. I got 2 questions, one from Björn, one from Sami. Let me take a look at Björn's first. It was already a while ago. 5 minutes ago. Let's see. Will always major support horizontal lines manipulated so a buy sell stop just gives to bank, how is best to trade them? Not all fractals necessarily, of course, are ones that you want to trade. I identify major fractals by using trend lines, by using fibs, support and resistance, moving averages. What I like about moving averages is that any fractal in the moving averages is less important. Or, for example, these fractals that are in the band, I wouldn't be looking for a break to buy it. Although this one did work well. I mean, I would be more looking for a break of the lower fractals for downside continuation. For example, I'm just giving you an example here. What 50-minute chart, you can use these fractals for a break to the upside. The EMAs are, I'll write that down in the chat for you, okay? Let's see. Let's see. Well, if you want a sloping or slanting trend line, you would really need to use this trend line here. Did you try this one, Ray? Did you try this particular trend line? What you could also do, by the way, is go to Insert, go to Lines, and click on Trend Line. That's the way to do it. Then click and let go. How you do it between two spots is by as follows. Take the Trend Line tool. First, left-click on the first point that you want to have the trend line, then drag to the second point and release. If you release it exactly on the second spot, it will be right on top of it. If you release it next to it, it won't be though, right? Because it might be lower or higher. You have to really go from exact spot to exact spot to have it between two points. If you want fractals, you can go to Insert, Indicators, Bill Williams, Fractals. I have to admit that to me, a chart without fractals just looks strange. I'm so used to them that visually it's just I'm lost without it. Because let me show you. It looks strange to me. Let me see, blank. It doesn't convey the same information to me somehow. I don't know. It looks funny not to see support and resistance, clearly. XAUSD, let's take a look. Okay, there we are. As we said yesterday, this is definitely still a resistance level. Price couldn't break through it. Let's zoom into the 1 hour charts. No, that was not yesterday. Yes, it was yesterday. Okay. We did have a fall, but then we got a lot of upside as well, but it is continuing down. So to me, this looks more like a spot where this could be resistance. But, is it interesting to short? I don't know. Yesterday was bearish. The day before was a doji. Definitely, this is still a very key level. Anything above it could be bullish, but anything below it would be very careful with bullishness because this is still a downtrend and we couldn't break resistance, so we could continue down. But where would we want to maybe short it? I don't know. Maybe this trend line break that happened just recently. But I don't trade really gold all too often. So, but it could be maybe some fall here. Let's take a look at the moving averages. There's still this support, so let's see if we can punch through those moving averages. Then the next break, pullback, continue, and the continue part could be maybe the better one. But any shorts would really have to be careful, of course, of this support level, obviously, because didn't break it 3 times, so there's definitely potential that we might not break it again. If we do break this bottom, then the target is 1090 in my opinion, which is the 50 fib. If we break these tops in here, then I would say there's a potential to go to 1300, then maybe up to 1350, 60 here, then up to 1420, and then maybe even 1500. But let's see if we can make that breakout. All of those resistances, of course, could also potentially let this go down again. Something like this. So by using support and resistance, one could have an idea of the take profit, trading it from one level to another level. I wouldn't recommend aiming for the very last pip. Always go a bit below resistance because price could maybe not reach it, miss it by 5 pips. You wouldn't want to depending on which time frame, of course, maybe 5 pips is a lot. But if you trade it on a bigger time, a bit bigger target, then you wouldn't want to aim for the very last pip either. So no matter what your trading plan is, using support and resistance is I think key for almost everyone. I'm sure there will be few examples of where people don't use support or resistance. I mean horizontal levels like this, but most will a lot will have it. Not everyone, of course. There's probably some pivot point strategies that use the pivots as support and resistance and not like daily tops and bottoms. Well, somehow I don't really see anything really interesting somehow. I don't know. Maybe does anyone else see something? Maybe you can suggest something. I don't know. I don't see at the moment anything inspiring. It's the breakout trades that I was waiting for, or that we were maybe looking at yesterday happened in the New York session yesterday. I don't see anything necessarily interesting at the moment. Maybe euro odd and pound odd eventually, but this is the Euro Swissy. As you can see, Euro Swissy broke to the downside, but then closed and reversed. And I don't know, maybe the Swiss bank having some influence. Who knows? Could be. Yeah, that's true, JS. JS is saying that markets are slow before the FOMC, and they definitely could slow down more, in fact, maybe, as we get closer. So that's something that definitely, unfortunately, will hang over as a shadow over today. That's definitely true. Most cases, that is so. We could take a look at something else, maybe, if you want. Let's take a look maybe at this S&P. Not sure what's happening, in fact, but seems to be a bit stuck when I clicked on this S&P. So, one second. In the meantime, I tried to reboot it, but give me a second here, or restart it somehow. One second. It's not responding somehow. Very strange. Weird. Let's see. One question from Munirai. I need some help on drawing a line in the chart. A line about 1 inch to 4 inches, and not one that goes all the way across the chart. Yes. What you can do is by left-clicking on the trend line, then right-click on the trend line, sorry, then go to trend line properties. Left-click on trend line properties, then go to, I think it was parameters, and then uncheck ray. Ah, I got the solution. We got the S&P in front of us now. So let's take a look. This is the 1 hour chart, also consolidation prior to FOMC at the moment. Let's take a look at the bigger time frame, maybe 4 and day chart. Day chart recently, prior or during Christmas, we had another high. I remember, I think last time we were saying this could be a retracement for one more upside, if I remember correctly. That indeed it was so, and we went up from 17 to 1850 approximately. So there is some divergence between these tops, but let's see, maybe we'll make another retracement and continue. Who knows? This lasted for a very long time, this trend. The 4 hour chart has a pretty strong AO reading as well, so this seems to be more consolidation for more upside to me, but let's see. DAX went up as well, continues to go higher. Dow Jones 2. NASDAQ 2, same story really here. And oil, I'm not sure what the current month is, in fact. Does anyone know? Doesn't look like I have it on the chart at the moment. No. Pound yen saw a small dip here. Let's take a look at the euro yen. Euro yen making a small dip as well. And dollar yen, small dip, small bounce. Well, folks, I guess we'll wrap it up for today a bit earlier than usual, but I don't want to hold you up. I really don't have anything to add besides that today. If you have still a question, by all means, let me know. I'll give you a minute or two, of course, to you can take a look at something, but at your question. But otherwise, I don't really see anything interesting, and don't want to hold you up, as I said. So tomorrow we'll be back for with I think it's oscillator. So we'll have a bit more focus on the oscillator, if I remember correctly. Let me take a look. Yes, and tonight there's Introduction to Volume Spread Analysis by Nanette, by the way. No questions? Okay, no problem. Thanks for all for being here, and looking forward to see you tomorrow. Wish you all great trading today, okay? Cheers, everyone.